weather in Sacramento today has been awesome. Holiday weekend, lots of people, lots of things going on. Perfect day to get out and video a Sunday school. So for us in Sacramento, one of the things we're most known for is this yellow bridge right here. So how do you photograph something that's probably been photographed hundreds and hundreds of times and make it look different? For me, it's look for things like repeating patterns, repetition, using the light, and looking for something interesting. And that's what I'm determined to find today. Another way to help distinguish yourself between all the other photographs that have been taken of this particular scene is to work the scene. Try different angles. Get up high, get down low, change your lens. Look for different angles, unique perspectives that are going to differentiate your photograph from all the other hundreds of images that have been taken. So the problem with shooting this image from the other side of the bridge is that the light is in front of me. And so if I shoot this shot with the light from behind me, then the arches will actually have much more light instead of being in the shadow. So I'm heading to where the light is. Now that I have the light that I want, the next thing that is key is framing this shot just right. Now this bridge has a lot of gaps and a lot of holes in it. So in order to pull this off, I've got to fill the frame with exactly the parts of this bridge that I want. And in order to do that, I've got to shoot with a long lens. So I'm going to break out my 1:400, get in tight, and get exactly what I need. So after several attempts of working the scene, this was the final photograph that I liked the most. Not only do you have interesting shapes and patterns from the bridge itself, but then you also have these cool contrasting shadows, adding even more shape and interest to the photograph. Some people might think it's a little busy, but for me, I actually really enjoy the complexity of this photograph. And therefore, this is the one that I've chosen as my final image. Now, luckily for us, it doesn't require a lot of work. A lot of times when people are editing, they wonder, when am I done? And I think that the tendency is to over-process your photographs. For this reason, we're going to use the PhotoNERDs Lightroom presets that we've created to help you get started with this image, and then you can add some further tweaks if necessary. But before I touch the presets, the first thing I want to do is crop this photograph. And the reason I want to crop this photograph is because I'm not crazy about what's happening here in the bottom left-hand corner of this image. As well, I'm not crazy that I can see the sky poking through the top here. So I'm going to head on over to my crop tool, choose a ratio that I think that makes sense. And once I have this crop in position where I want it, I'll go ahead and hit done to accept these changes. That looks pretty good. So the next thing I'm going to do is go through these Lightroom presets. And the nice thing about these presets is they work as layers and they're numbered from 0 all the way down to 7. Basically, it's a step-by-step guide in where to start and what to do next. If you're wondering where you can get these presets, you can find them on the PhotoNERDsunite.com website. These presets are free. So let's go ahead and get started by clicking the Get Started button. And that's going to go ahead and make some adjustments. And then from here, we'll just continue making further adjustments as needed. So we can bump the contrast. I think that looks pretty good. Maybe we'll even lift the shadows just a hair. Head down to our highlights. Maybe pull our highlights down a little bit. Then we'll head on up to our vibrance, which is going to add a little bit of color back to this photograph. And as well, we can go through our white balance presets and see which of these is going to look the best. Actually, I think I'm just going to leave it on auto for now. And as well, give this a little bit of a clarity bump, maybe about +3, as well as add a little bit of sharpening to this photograph. And then lastly, any lens corrections that might be needed, we can go ahead and apply that as well. In this case, I actually don't like the lens corrections that have been added, so I'm just going to click remove lens correction, and that'll get us right back to where we were. All right, that looks pretty good. Now, the presets have gotten me from here to here. Now I'm going to do some other adjustments to this photograph based on my taste. So I'm going to go over to saturation and maybe pull that up, go into my HSL, and maybe add a little bit of some more yellows and a little bit more orange to this picture. That looks pretty natural. And then I'm going to go down to effect and maybe add a little bit of dehaze for some more snap. So we go from this to this. That looks much more natural in actual color of the bridge that was there, and that looks pretty awesome. So now you're left with this really cool urban bridge, these cool textures and lines. If I wanted to, I could take this into Photoshop and decide maybe I want to get rid of these circles that I have here. But that's all personal preference as to whether or not you really want to take this photograph in there and do that additional work. For me, I'm going to leave it alone, and we're left here with this final image.